We are here today in a 2020 X5. This is the new G05 chassis from BMW, and we are going to show you how to put our speaker upgrade in this car, which is going to replace all of the 100mm mid-ranges and 25mm tweeters throughout the vehicle. What the speaker upgrade is going to do for this is going to significantly improve the sound quality and sound clarity over the factory units. From the factory mid-range, we go with our Kevlar composite weave 100mm design that has an inverted surround on it, gets you a little extra travel. The tweeters, rather than these harsh factory units, we go to our silk dome machined housing 25mm tweeter, and we'll touch a little bit more on the design differences when we get in there, and I'll show you them side by side. We also have with us today our Bavsound toolkit. This is an option at checkout. If you have a basic set of tools at home, it's probably a little bit redundant, but if you don't, this includes everything that you need to do this installation. The two things we're going to use on this first door here are our plastic panel removal tool, as well as our bit driver with a Torx T20 bit. That said, I'll go ahead and show you our first couple screws we're going to get out. There is a few different locations these are in. We have one screw behind this panel here. We have another screw behind the door handle. It is behind a plastic panel as well. We have two screws behind a plastic panel in this door pull area. We'll get a tighter shot on that when I'm getting to it. And then we have three screws running along the bottom of the door panel, as well as one hidden up by the door lock mechanism. So the first screw we'll get to is behind this panel here. And the way this works is actually a little funky on BMW's part. This cover, it's got a couple hooks that go in here. So it kind of latches in on the front, and then the way it pops out on this back side. It's a little bit hard to get a tool in on this edge, but you can do it. The other trick is you can kind of come in at the corner here. Yeah, just be careful so you don't mar the leather, but once it starts going, you can usually just reach in. I guess the tool can still be useful there. And I'll show you what those clips look like once we get this. So with that coming out, you can see there's the two hooks that go in the front, and then there's just two little tabs that lock it in at the rear. So the prying force needs to be kind of on this back edge or these corners. That reveals our Torx T20 head screw right there. You guys know how to unscrew that, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. You can just go ahead and get that out. So at that point, with this removed, there's three additional screws running along the bottom of the panel. There's one here. I don't know if this will be easy to capture on camera. There's another right here and another there. We'll go ahead and remove those three. And with those removed, it's time to get the single screw hiding behind the door panel. So this again is covered by a plastic cover. This has its latches in the back side of this plastic cover, so it'll be prying at this front edge here. That's where the couple clips are. So we'll just come in at that edge right there. We'll get our panel tool in, and it just pops right out just like that. Again, you can see these couple little ones that latch in at the rear here, and then the couple clips holding it in the front. Again, revealing a single Torx T20 head screw. So you'll go ahead and remove that as well. It might be a little dark in here. So this one, and I want you guys to be careful while you're doing it, is actually easiest to get out with our pick tool. Now you'll notice it is a pick tool. The front edge is very sharp on this, so you want to be careful not to, puncture yourself or put any marks on this leather. But the way this little cover here comes off, it comes straight up and out. There's a series of 4 clips, and they come straight up and out, which requires prying force from the bottom. So what you'll do, and again, watch this front leading edge, is you'll come in and slide it beneath it and hook it underneath. Again, with the pointy portion going towards the outside of the door handle. At that point, you'll just pull upwards, and this pops out, and I'll show you guys here. It's got this series of 4 clips that go straight downwards, and that reveals an additional 2 Torx T20 head screws. Again, might be a little dark on camera for you, but that plastic panel pops straight upwards away from the ground, reveals those 2 screws. And there's just one more hiding up here beneath this. It's the door lock indicator. So this just, again, pops straight up and out, comes out really easy. And that reveals one last Torx T20 screw. So with the 1 screw up there removed, the one behind the door panel, or excuse me, door handle, the 2 in the door pull, the 1 on the back of the door panel here, and the 3 down at the bottom, the next thing we need to do is remove this tweeter pod, as that has to get out of the way for the door panel to be removed, and then we'll come down and remove the door panel itself. To get this tweeter pod out, there's a series of clips that run along this edge, and it slots in on the back here. So you can just with your hand kind of twist it and take a little bit of wiggling. Glad you guys are seeing that. So you can see it is a little tight there. And then it will just pop out. There is this single connection here that needs to be unplugged. Just pull straight out on that, and that tweeter pod is out of the way. I'll show you guys on the bench in just a second here how to swap our tweeter out into this housing, but we just had to get this out of the way to get the rest of the door panel off. So we have all of the screws out of this panel, and the tweeter pod is removed and it is ready to pop off. So there's a series of plastic clips running around the panel at the outside perimeter, which need to come straight out. BMW is using a new clip design. We'll include a few with this kit. I think you're gonna get a little pack of 5. If you get this right, or just have some luck, they will all come off and be able to be reused. It will be normal that some are going to give you some trouble and you might have to swap that out. The BMW techs we talk to don't even have them worked out and end up swapping those out. So don't feel bad if that is the case. So again, these series of clips, we're gonna wanna pull straight out. You'll just come in with the tool here and you can kind of wedge that in and pry. Once you get that first clip popped, you can just go around with your hands and pop the rest out. So this will just lift up and over. And the first thing we need to remove is actually just this connection for the tweeter. So that just comes straight out there. Oh, it's got a little fuzz on it. And then BMW is doing a nice thing for you guys. Rather than everything being on an individual connection, we have a single large connection here to remove for the whole wiring of the door. So that, there's this little push, this black push, and then the green handle will lift up. It'll be a little bit hard to show you that. So here, lift this out, again, just to show you back up in some better light. This green lever, you push down that black tab, that rotates upwards. You'll have to have it in this locked up position before you can reinsert it as well. The door handle, you'll just come here and you'll just lift up and that pops out. And slide that out of its channel there. And this door panel is removed and you go set that in a safe space. I actually found the trunk of this car holds this well and will keep it all protected. Just to talk quickly about these clips, you can see here they've kind of pulled backwards and lifted up. There's this little gap on them. That is a clip that is removed properly and is good to go. That will reinsert okay. If it looks funky, this is broken, it doesn't look exactly like this, if there's anything popping out on it, go ahead and swap that out with one of those clips that we included for you. And again, we'll touch on this when going to put the door panel back on. But for now, we're gonna pause and I'll show you how to swap out these speakers. All right, so this is the factory mid-range, which we'll be removing. It's held on by just 3, again, Torx T20 head screws. The first thing we'll do is unplug these 2 connections, and I want to talk about paying attention to these wiring colors when you do. So with those unplugged, you can see there is and again, this is on the driver's side, it's going to be different side to side, a black and green wire and a black and white wire. You'll see that one of the connections we just unplugged has that black and green wire and black and white wire as well. That is the factory wiring for the tweeter. this is just acting as an extension harness as the tweeter signal passes through this mid-range. This wiring will not be reused with our tweeter as we use a different plug. So this extension harness portion can be disregarded. So you'll just want to bend this one out of the way as that won't be used. This black and red and black and brown wire is running from the amplifier. That will need to be plugged into your new Bavsound mid-range as that contains the signal that we need. So you'll go ahead and take these 3 screws out, and that factory mid-range is ready to be replaced. So with these out, I will show you the Bavsound mid-range compared to this factory. You can see, the first difference that will jump out is we're using this Kevlar weave component. So it's this nice curvilinear cone. We have a inverted rubber surround on there compared to the factory. That allows us to get a little bit of extra extension within this design. And compared to the factory paper cone mid-range, you're just going to get a much nicer, much more natural sounding mid-response out of this vehicle. So we can set this to the side, and the Bavsound mid-range is ready to be installed. With the wiring, what you can do is just go ahead and pull it around there and have it come up here and line this up. Now I want to talk about, as we snug these screws down, I want to use the emphasis on the word snug. You don't need to go overly tight here. You don't want to be bending the ears of this speaker or pulling anything out of sorts. So this is, of course, easier if you do that screw like that before you get started. So we'll just come in and just snug. And snug. And then snug. You can go around and make sure that those are all snug, and that is all that is needed there. And again, I wanted to talk about this. You'll want to use the wiring color that is coming from the amp. The way to determine that, you can see this tweeter extension harness here. We'll have a set of colors. Those will be discarded. You can bend that down. We're going to use that signal coming from the amp, which plugs directly into the green plug coming, or kind of bluish green plug coming off of our mid-range. This black plug will run up to our tweeter. I'll show you how to swap that tweeter out into the housing on our bench here. So we've got our tweeter pod over on the workbench here, and we need to swap in the Bavsound tweeter. So the first thing we'll do, you can kind of move this out of the way, and this foam just pulls out, revealing the factory tweeter, which is held in by these 3 plastic tabs here. And this wiring will just come up through this slot. What you can do here, kind of play with this, I like to take the tool, and you want to be careful pushing on these tabs. If you're going to push on the tabs with this, which you will need to do to remove this, you want to be careful with the pressure, as if you push too far inwards, obviously this could break or just lose tension on this, and when you go to pop our tweeter in, it won't sit as securely. So you can kind of push that in a little, push this one in a little, and you can see, you don't want to pull too hard here as we don't want to damage this, but you can just apply light upward pressure on this as you're doing it, so that as you get these tabs in, this tweeter will release. Again, I'm trying to keep my head out of the way so you guys can see what I'm doing, but that makes it harder for me to do what I need to. Again, slow and steady here is what you want to do. Just as, again, with these tabs, you really don't want to push that too far inwards. All right, so you can see that one is released there. And then this just comes out. It was just held onto this rim, and I will take a second to show you the difference in design in between our tweeter and the factory. So you can see we use this silk dome machined housing tweeter with this more advanced design over the protective grille. Just a nicer tweeter all around than this factory unit. It's going to sound a lot better, give you much more natural highs. So with this, what I like to do is you can kind of come in with your finger and just kind of, pull these outwards slightly. They're pretty stiff on there, so you're not going to feel a lot of flex, but just make sure that's positioned outwards. And then we'll go ahead and take our tweeter here, pop that down in. You kind of want to make sure you go straight down. You hear that lock into place, a perfect fit. And then we can take this wiring here. You can run it out this little side channel. You can see it's just sort of an indentation there. What I like to do to give us some extra room to secure this capacitor, just run the wiring down right to this slot here, put this foam back in place like so, and that is ready to be installed back into the car at the appropriate time. So with our tweeter pod here, we're not going to pop it fully back into place, but we will be hanging it back in place as the wiring will need to be connected before the door panel goes back on. So up here, this factory, the tweeter wiring extension, again, which we're not using, we'll go ahead and you can take this and just tuck it down and under to here. I can just hang out with this other wiring. It will not be used, like so. This black plug will plug into the black lead off our mid-range, supplying that tweeter the signal that it needs. And we'll just take this here. You can actually just take this capacitor harness. And again, we'll need about this much lead on it, so you don't want too much of the wiring wrapped up there. That will actually just tuck in with that wiring there and be secure. You can use a couple zip ties on that if you wanted for it to be really secure, but the way the tension works out on this, it's actually held in place pretty well. You can tuck everything down. So a little trick I like to use, we have this just clean microfiber towel here to protect the paint. So you can kind of wrap this up, and we'll actually just take this over and gently, of course, just set that to hang there while we go grab our door panel. So we are ready to put our door panel back on, and one nice thing to do, probably not when you're standing here holding the door panel already, would be just fire up the radio. You're not listening for any acoustic improvements. You're not going to hear that until the full speaker set is installed. So we're not assessing the system, but just fire it up, make sure this mid-range is playing, make sure your tweeter is playing, and everything sounds good there before you proceed further and put the door panel back on. So as far as this goes, first thing we'll do is get this door handle pulled back in place. You can actually just come up here. If you want to show them, there's this little tab up here that this lines up with, so that clips under there. This pushes down, locks in place. You can pull the door handle to make sure that's actuating correctly. And pull that through there. You can see that little slot that it goes through. The wiring plug, again, this will have to be latched fully up at first. You'll push down, and then you'll feel it pull the plug in, and that will lock into place. Just give it a little wiggle to make sure that is secure. And then you'll need to line up this door lock, we're calling it that indicator, at which point we will need to grab our tweeter pod, again, still wrapped up in the microfiber, and the wiring for this, if you can show that, Kobe, will come out through this slot. So this will come over now, and you'll hang it on this front part of the door panel, and that is good there. We'll then need to lift the panel up. You kind of have to tilt it up and inwards and get this lined up here. Now, as you probably heard, the door pull had fallen down, so you'll have to line that up, which you can do. So that's back in place. So with the door pull in place, this is sort of latched up here. There's this black piece of plastic that lines up into this slot, and the door panel hangs from it. So you can see this is all lined up nicely here. We've got our tweeter pod hanging out here, and this is all lined up. So the next thing we'll do, and here we'll wrap this tweeter pod back up, is we will go through and pop the clips back in. So these are a little bit different design than you've seen in the past from BMW. Again, they're sort of the sensitive clips. If any have broken, you'll want to go ahead and swap that out with one of the ones that we've included for you. So we are ready to put these plastic clips back in on the panel. Now, these are a little different than what we've done in the past. So what you'll want to do is make sure it's lined up in the hole, and then just apply light pressure. You'll feel it just pop into place. So this is BMW's new design. They are more likely to break, but they require a lot less force as you do it. It's not like before where you'd have to go around and really push on the panel for it to clip in. Same thing over on this side. And then you can kind of pull outwards on the panel to make sure everything is lined up, and we are good to go. So from here, the two remaining things to do are going to be put in all the screws. I will leave that to you guys to do, and then I'll show you how to pop all these plastic panels back in, and we are going to tackle this tweeter. So with the tweeter pod, there's two parts to this. The first part is this series of clips on the front, which will pop in over here, and then we have this edge on the back that lines up to this felt gasket on the other side. We'll go ahead and show you guys that once we get this popped in. But the first thing we're gonna do, it's a little bit hard for me as I'm doing this blind so you guys have a good angle, is get these lined up over here. So like that, you can feel them all pop into place. If you come around to this side, we'll show you. It will actually be this edge here. So you can see there's this little slot it goes into. It's in between the felt and this rubber gasket. And we'll just kind of get it started at the bottom edge here. Oh, that actually popped over it. We'll pull out. You can see that sort of slots in. And just like so, that's back under this gasket. Everything's lined up. Make sure all the clips are still secure on the front, and that is back to how it was from the factory. So we'll take a pause there, and then I'll show you how to pop all these covers back on after you've inserted the screws. So what we actually realized, so we had it lined up on the back, and we had it clipped in the front. There's these metal clips here that this piece will slide under, so on the door panel here. I didn't quite have that lined up, so if that happens to you, all you'll do is make sure it's fully down and latched in there as well while you go through and do this process. So let's see. Sort of a multi-piece where we're clipping it in the front, trying to line this up on the back. And now that gap down there is nice and tight like we like to see. All right. So again, all that happened here, and you might have seen it in the previous shot, you could just see there was a little bit of a gap down here. That is we got it clipped in the front, we had this lined up, but it wasn't under that metal tab. You can see it's under that metal tab, and the fit is as good as factory. And just to show here again, and sometimes we'll get questions on this stuff, you can see there's this felt lining that the window slides up onto it. This goes directly beneath that and above the rubber that's below it. So when this is all said and done, your finished tweeter pod should look and fit exactly as you see here. If the plastic is over this felt trim, or if it's significantly behind it, it's behind the rubber that's behind it as well, that isn't right, and you'll want to fix it to have a smooth window operation, same as factory. Yep. So we've reinstalled all the screws on the panel. You shouldn't have any leftover parts at this point besides those inadequate factory speakers. So with the door lock indicator up here, we'll go ahead and slide this plastic cover over. This just goes right down, clips into place, super easy. We'll then move to the door pull cover. Again, the clips on it, you can see, it just goes straight down. Will be a little hard to capture, but that'll just kind of slide into place and pops directly downward. You'll feel it lock into place there. The cover behind the door handle, which I don't know if you're getting that at all. The little two latches go in the back and then it pops in the front. So you'll feel it when those are lined up correctly, slide into place, just pushes down. There you go. And we got one last one here, which there's the two little hooks that go on the front, the two clips in the back. So it hooks in, pops in, and we are ready to move to the rear doors. So the rear door is going to be largely similar to what you just saw in the front. We have a couple screws hidden under this panel in the door pull. Behind the door handle, there's again that same cover, exact same style here. We have another screw behind the same style cover here. And then in this case, there's just two screws on the bottom of the panel. So we're gonna cut ahead to having all these removed, and I'll show you how to pop this panel off and what the connections you're gonna see inside will look like. So this is ready to remove. We've removed the one screw by the door handle, the two screws in this door pull, the one screw hiding behind this cover, and the two screws at the bottom of the door panel. So again, same thing. We'll just come in, pry outwards, and I like to follow around with my hands. And if you want to come around to the front, I will show you the connections with all those popped. Again, same thing. We'll lift straight up, which brings us to the one large connection. Again, same thing with this green tab. And then the door handle connection. And then the one difference here I want to show you in this panel is we got to take off the connection running to the tweeter from the mid-range. So this orange wiring, at least it's orange on this side, that will pull straight out. This panel is ready to be removed. And you actually want to find a nice workbench for this or somewhere soft to sit it, as we'll be swapping out this tweeter. All right, so you can of course do this in your lap. That's what we're gonna do today to show you this. All we have to do is get this tweeter out. It's gonna be pretty much the same thing you saw as that tweeter pod in the front. There's these little slightly different style tabs here. Again, just you wanna watch the amount of force you're putting on those as you bend them outwards. Once the tweeter starts to lift up, it'll just pop out like so. We'll take our Bavsound 25mm tweeter and we'll pop that into place there. Again, it's when you get it lined up, it takes a little less force to pop it. If you get it super crooked like that, it doesn't go in quite as nice. Let's see, that's in there. And we will take this extra wiring and run it through the factory location. And then let's see. So our inline capacitor harness, as we use slightly higher quality stuff, is going to be a little bit bigger. What we're actually going to do here, you can see there's this extra wiring down in here. That's a nice little pocket for things to go in. We're actually going to take this and just nestle it in there. And then we'll make the connection to our factory, or excuse me, not factory, we'll make the connection to the Bavsound mid-range right there. So we'll go ahead, we haven't done that yet. I'll show you here. It's gonna be the exact same as the front, the swapping of the mid-range. Again, just 3 screws. In this case, the factory plug unplugs, there's nothing else to worry about. It is going to use the same mid-range front and rear as far as the doors on this car go. And we'll jump back, we'll screw this Bavsound mid-range into place, show you how to plug in the tweeter, plug in the factory connections, and we will be good to go. So one thing to talk about on our mid-range is we have this decorative rubber cover on the magnet that fits fine in the front. In the rear, you did have to pop this off the magnet just as the clearance to this lower post over here was tight. So with that in place, we've plugged the two blue, and ours is kind of a little bit more green, connectors together. We have this hanging here ready to be plugged into our tweeter. We are ready to put this door panel back on. So again, we'll start by sliding this top slot in up top after plugging in the connections. So I'm gonna come here. I like to do our tweeter first, just so that you can't forget to do that, and put the panel back on, which, let's see, where's that connection? So again, those two black plugs together. Then we've got our main plug for the door wiring. So that comes down. Once it's in place, as you move that green tab down, it will pull it in securely. We got our door handle connection here. Again, same thing as the front. Pops into place. You can line that up. And with that, now I want to show you that. Make sure to get that door lock indicator in. Then we'll come up here, hook everything down, and we are ready to pop those clips back into place again. Again, same as the front. Inspect, make sure all those look good. You'll get a little pack of clips from us in case any break, and then just making sure everything is lined up. You can just pop it into place. Kind of hear them. So you can kind of fall around, make sure everything is good. We'll close that gap up with our screw. And from here, I'm not going to show you again because you saw it in the front and they all install identically, but you'll go back through, get the one screw here, two on the bottom, two in the door handle, or excuse me, two in the door pull, one in the door handle, put the covers back on, and you are ready to move up to the center channel. So the next thing we need to get to is the center channel tweeter and mid-range. Now for those of you with the nice dashboards like this car, what I recommend doing on your tool, just inspect it and make sure everything's totally smooth here. You know, be a bummer to mark that up just in case you caught it. You can see on the top here where just getting the door panel off, there's like some sharp little bits. That's okay going towards it if you have it upwards, but just make sure the back of your panel tool is completely smooth so that you don't mar anything up. So this is held in with a series of clips around the edges, and you'll just come in at that seam here and pry upwards. If you don't get a pop in a certain spot, you kind of keep moving around. And the leather will dent a little at first. That's normal. It will work itself out, you know, in the next 10 minutes or so. Just be careful of your display, obviously. Glad you guys are getting to see how tight this is. There we go. So as they come up, you can see it's just all these metal clips. Yeah, they're very tight. All right, most of those up, you just kind of come in. Again, pulling straight up and out, and that will lift off. You can see here, it's just these metal clips around the perimeter, which reveals our tweeter and mid-range. So with the cover removed, we got to take the 3 screws out on the mid-range. The tool to do that with is this 90-degree guy, as there is not clearance with the windshield in the way for our standard bit driver. So we'll take these 3 screws out. So the mid-range lifts out. There's these 2 connections here. They are tight. Just be a little careful, obviously, with that windshield. So this one is, well, I'm actually not sure which is going to go which yet. One of these will be from the amp side, one is going to come out with this tweeter. So we have removed and unplugged the mid-range, and then in this car, this plastic piece here is going to have to come out fully. So with these 6 screws removed out of here, again, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is ready to lift off, and I will show you guys exactly how to do that. So with our 6 screws removed, this is ready to lift out. Again, if you take the mid-range out, it gives you a nice little place to pry in. You can see I've already accidentally bumped that tweeter down. That's okay. So that just lifts out, and this comes out with it. So to get the tweeter out, the capacitor harness will slide out here. Then the tweeter's again just held in with these series of clips. Just kind of pop it up and out, come out nice and easy. Take the Bavsound tweeter, it pops right in. And then our tweeter filter harness, it's a little bit of a tight fit as our heat shrink kind of goes over, but will slide right down in there. Just be a little careful. There are connections to the board on that, so you don't want to be applying crazy amounts of pressure, but as you can see, goes on pretty easily. So different to the start, what I would actually recommend doing now is going ahead and putting our mid-range onto this panel as well, so that you can get all the wiring situated on the back, make sure you don't have wires trying to go in front of these vent holes here. So we'll jump ahead where I have that bolted into place on this, and I'll show you how we're going to do that wiring. So one thing I wanted to talk about that's important here is the amount of torque that we are putting on these screws when installing our mid-range. So due to the design of this, our mid-range will sit right in place as it should. However, the basket sits down and allows the ears to have a gap beneath it, which is totally fine. It seals on the bottom. But if you sit here and crank too hard on this, you can actually bend the ears out of place. So real quick, I'll just get these all snug. You'll see there's no deflection of the ears right now. You just kind of go down to the point it touches right there, and you can feel the mid-range is completely secure. However, and I'll show you on this one if you want to watch it. Yeah, so what I want to show you is you just want to go until it makes contact and holds the speaker snug. Again, snug, it doesn't have to be crazy tight. If you keep going on this, you'll see it will push the ear downwards. That pulls the voice coil out of alignment, and it will cause rub on the basket. That mid-range will sound terrible, and you'll run into a situation where that will fail prematurely. So what you can do, again, you just want to go around. You want these to be snug, but just once you start to feel some of that resistance, which is right about there, just go ahead and stop, and you'll be good to go. Again, snug here, not tight. So with that, I'll show you how we're going to do this wiring on the back. So black plug goes to our tweeter, and then that green plug will plug into that factory wiring lead that's still up in the dash. As far as the wiring routing goes, the things to watch out for, obviously you have the, and I apologize, this is all black in here so it might be hard to see, but you have the holes where the screws went through, you have the holes where the clips are going to go through, and then you have these holes for the dashboard vents. So you really want to kind of tuck all of this down in here as there's some room. Kind of, again, might take just a little bit of maneuvering. What we can even do is lift that capacitor harness back out, put the plug and wiring down in there, and then come back in with it. like so. Again, doesn't have to be super pretty, just make sure that's out of the way of everything. One thing I wanted to talk about, and this applies to the center channel tweeter location or anywhere else, is every once in a while you'll see where this tweeter just has the littlest bit of play in it. In most cases this is okay. A lot of times you'll get a firm fit. Sometimes you'll even get to the factory tweeter and it will be doing that. If that's the case, and we'll include a little tube of this E6000 glue, it's a soft setting glue. It gives it just like a nice little bit of hold. It does take about 20-30 minutes to set, if not a full hour. So what we recommend doing is, I'll show you how to do these little dots of it in a second here. We recommend doing that and then just leave this sitting while you go do the rear doors or these rear speakers, whatever the case may be. But you'll just come in, again, you don't want to get any on the cone area or any to go to the front, but you can just do one little dot up there. I'm probably blocking your view, but you'll get to see. And you just do one here, and then once that sets up, that will give the tweeter, it's just a nice little hold to prevent any movement there or any sort of rattling. Even without this, you're probably not going to encounter that, but it's just a nice little safety there. So wanted to show you guys that just in case you encounter a somewhat loose tweeter. And one last little thing to talk about, you'll actually notice these slots in the enclosure for the mid-range. If you actually just pull the wiring through those and line it up like so and like so, that will allow it to stay out of the way there, and just make sure it's not interfering with this gasket. It's not a super precise fit, but just a nice little thing to do. So with that done, we can come back up here. Again, first thing we'll want to do is plug in the harness. Just watch the clips on the leather, of course. So that will route down in here. I wanted to point out one thing that might be obvious to you guys, but just as you're setting this down, the factory wiring running to that green plug, blue plug, just make sure that's tucked out of the way and isn't going to pinch in between any of those wiring holes or just interfere with the mid-range gasket sitting down. You can see how we have it routed here. That's a good way to do it, and we'll let this sit flush. And then this will just come and sit back down as it did prior, and we'll come in and replace all these screws and then put that cover back on, and you are ready to move to the rear speakers if you have a Harman Kardon car, which are all the way in the luggage compartment in the back, or if you have a standard hi-fi car, you are done. So starting in one corner, once it's lined up, you'll just go around. It will take a good bit of pressure, as you see here, but these will all pop down and sit flush in that dashboard. It can take quite a bit, so don't be shy with that. And there you go. We will now move back on for you HK Harman Kardon customers to show you how to do these D-pillars. What's green and hops from bed to bed? A horny toad. So that one's for you, Kobe. So with this, I don't know what I want to do. I'm just going to be uncomfortable. You guys get to be uncomfortable with me. There is 4 clips holding this in, like a little pop clip like you saw in the front, and then there's 1 locating tab up here. So to get it off, it's pretty easy. You'll just kind of work your fingers back in behind it, pop outwards, same thing up towards the front. And then it kind of angles down here. So as you can see here, and sometimes one of the clips will stay on the car. That's okay, we'll come grab that out in a second. So you got the 4 clips, and then this locating tab up here. This is able to be removed. So if yours pops out like that, don't fret, it just pops right back in. So with that out of the way, we now need to take out this mid-range and tweeter pod. So there's going to be 3, I believe it's 8mm head bolts, which you have that in your toolkit, that fitting, holding this pod in, and then a single connection to the mid-range. So we'll go ahead and get that out, and I'll show you guys what to do once we have that removed. So with the three 8mm head bolts removed, we are going to remove the mid-range with its 3 screws. So with the screws removed, we just need to unplug that. Then we can take that mid-range out. And you can see BMW has used some adhesive of their own here. So what you want to do is go through and just, I like to use our pick tool, just kind of create a little break in it. You know, everywhere you either have to pull wiring out or especially, and I'll show you this in a second here, around the tweeter. We'll just kind of want to go in, and again, you don't want to, I mean, you're probably never going to use this factory tweeter again, but either way, you don't want to damage it. The idea is just to create a break in it. You can see it's gummy. It's not like a super strong setting adhesive. Just create a break in it so that as you pull the tweeter away, it has something to release rather than trying to hold on. So with breaks created in all this adhesive with our pick tool, which, word to the wise, just be careful the direction you're prying in this with, as you know, as you break through the adhesive, sometimes it will jump out. Don't be pointing it towards yourself, otherwise you might give yourself a little poke, which isn't very fun. So with that adhesive removed, I want to talk about popping this tweeter out. When you go to do this, you can see the wiring has popped off of ours here. As it's not a super thick gauge, you want to be careful pulling on that, otherwise you might have happen, you know, what we have happen here, which is where the wiring just pulled out, if you have a plan for these. So what you can do once that's all broken, you can pry from the front, just pry from this outer edge here. This little spider would obviously, you know, it's thin plastic, would compress pretty easily. So as long as you're putting the pressure on that outside edge, this will just pop out and allow you to insert our new Bavsound tweeter. So that will just pop right back in. Same location as the factory. That BMW adhesive actually creates a nice little fit for it. And then we'll need to orientate our capacitor harness. So the way we want to do this is I like to put the wiring into this location. We'll actually go the other way here and just create a point for this. Again, pulling on the wiring, don't pull on the actual connection area. But with that in there, that gives the capacitor harness somewhere to sit once we plug it into our mid-range, which we'll talk about installing in just a second here. So you can see our mid-range comes in here and sits down. Now this is a little bit funky on BMW's end. For whatever reason, the mounting points for this don't sit as flush as you would expect. So same as the front, I'll just show you the force I'm going to use. Or same as the center channel, I should say. I'm going to show you the force I'm going to use when tightening this down. And we'll just get all 3 screws started here. And you just want to go until you feel the littlest bit of resistance. And that is where we're going to stop. If you see those ears distorting on the mid-range, you've gone too far. And that's it. Just that little bit of force. You can, I promise you could sit here and crank this one all the way down until it's tight. That will bend the basket of the mid-range and cause it to fail prematurely. You don't want that to happen. So again, just snug on these, just until there's the littlest bit of resistance that you feel on the screw. And once you get to that point, you are done. So we'll come to the back. We will plug in that black connector for our tweeter. And this is ready to be installed. The only thing we're gonna do first is just grab that one clip out that stayed on the vehicle for our cover here, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So to get this clip out, you'll take that metal panel removal tool, and you'll just wanna get in this slot, pry outwards. This will come out here. And you can see that right there. Slots right back in up top, and this will be ready to install as soon as we reinstall this, which again, same way it came out. You can see there's actually these little black locating tabs too. So those will go into the 2 holes by these screws. And once that's located, put these 3 screws in. You obviously want to make sure we plug this in as well. So with our mid-range and tweeter pod bolted back in, we are now going to put this panel back in. And the trickiest part of this, you can see this little tab up here. You come up and that slots in, and then kind of angle it up and over. This will all come back. That slides into place, and then, so we'll just lift this back here. I go down and in. So once that's all lined up, the clips are all lined up, you can kind of check the fitment around here, and you'll just apply pressure to hear all that pop in place, and that installation is done, and you are ready to enjoy your Bavsound upgrades. With all those Bavsound speakers installed in your car, and maybe our subs as well, it's now time to talk about the last couple things we need to do before you just get to truly enjoy these speakers. So the first thing is we want to go into the sound settings in your radio area or media area. These are over on the right here, where you'll get all this various stuff. Logic 7 Surround, that's basically an artificial surround effect. You can listen to it both ways. There's not really an advantage or disadvantage here. It can create a little bit of a less accurate signal than with it off, but you may prefer how that sounds, and it takes advantage of all the speakers in the vehicle. Surround we'll want to leave in the center. Treble and bass, as close to center as your ear will allow it. You can go up 1, 2, maybe 3 notches, or down on either setting depending on your ear. Going much past that is going to introduce distortion into the system and won't be doing our speakers justice, which are designed for a relatively flat signal. We've done the tuning for you, so you don't have to do it here. Balance and fader, same thing. You're probably going to want it in the center. If you have a slight preference there, a couple notches isn't going to hurt. Equalizer. If you don't understand what all this is doing, you can skip this part, leave this completely flat. For those of you who know how to tweak, same sort of thing. A couple notches will do it. Going much past that can add some distortion into the signal. If you're a novice and all this looks foreign to you, leave it alone, completely flat like this. In the volume settings, we like to turn speed volume from the center all the way down, just as that can screw with the EQ curve as vehicle speed increases, and that's not what we want. The only other thing to do from here is go ahead and go into your phone or device that you're listening with, make sure that there's no EQ set on those apps. Beyond that, you are ready to enjoy the new clarity and rich sound in your BMW in a way that you've never heard before.